When the snow fell soft, the bus stop bench was cold beneath Emma's thin dress. She wrapped her arms around herself, watching her breath form small clouds in the freezing air. Snow fell steadily now, coating her blonde hair with tiny white crystals. Her red leather bag sat beside her like a loyal friend, though it held almost nothing, just a phone she turned off hours ago and a few crumpled bills. She had nowhere to go. Emma stared at the wet pavement, remembering how her husband Michael had stood in their living room just 2 hours earlier. His face had been hard, expressionless. "I want children, Emma," he'd said coldly. "Real children, not more doctor visits, not more hope that leads nowhere." She tried to speak, to remind him of their vows, of the love they'd promised each other. But he'd simply shaken his head and pointed to the door. "My mother is right, 5 years is long enough. I need to move on." And just like that, she was out. The marriage she believed in, the home she'd built, the future she'd imagined, all of it gone in a single afternoon. She hadn't even been allowed to pack properly. Michael's mother had stood in the hallway with crossed arms, making sure Emma left quickly. Now she sat at a bus stop in the middle of winter, watching the snow fall harder. The streetlights glowed soft and orange through the white curtain of flakes. A few cars passed, their headlights cutting through the darkness. Emma wondered if she should call her sister, but shame kept her frozen. How could she explain that her husband had thrown her away like something broken? The tears came slowly at first, then faster. She let them fall, not bothering to wipe them away. No one was watching anyway. Or so she thought. Across the street, a black SUV had pulled up to the curb. Through her tears, Emma barely noticed it. She was too lost in her own pain, too wrapped up in the awful feeling that somehow this was all her fault. But then she heard small voices. "Daddy, that lady is crying," a little girl said. "She looks cold," a boy added. "Maybe she needs help," said another small voice. Emma looked up. 3 children stood a few feet away, bundled in colorful winter coats. Behind them stood a tall man in a dark peacoat, his expression serious but kind. He had dark hair touched with snow, and his eyes held a depth that spoke of his own past sorrows. "I'm sorry to bother you," the man said gently. His voice was calm, steady. "My children noticed you seem upset. Is there anything we can do?" Emma quickly wiped her face, embarrassed. "No, I'm fine, thank you," but her voice cracked on the last word, and the little girl in the red jacket stepped closer. She couldn't have been more than 5 years old. "You're not fine," she said with the simple honesty of childhood. "You're sad." The man knelt down beside his children. "I'm James," he said. "These are my kids, Noah, Sophie, and Ben. We were just heading home from dinner." He paused, studying her face with concern. "You're shaking. How long have you been sitting here?" "I don't know," Emma admitted. "An hour maybe." James's expression darkened, not with anger but with worry. He glanced at the bus stop sign, then at the nearly empty street. "The buses stop running this route in 15 minutes, he said quietly. "And the temperature is dropping fast." Emma looked down at her hands. They were red from the cold. "I'll figure something out." "Daddy, she needs somewhere warm," Noah said. He was the oldest, maybe 7, with thoughtful eyes. James stood and was quiet for a long moment. Then he made a decision. "Come with me," he said simply. Emma's head snapped up. "What? Come with me?" James repeated. "We have a guest room. You can warm up, have something hot to drink, and figure out your next step. No strings attached. Just kindness on a cold night." She stared at him, searching his face for ulterior motives. But all she saw was genuine concern and something else, a sadness that mirrored her own. This was a man who understood loss. "I don't even know you," Emma whispered. "I know," James said. "But I've been where you are. Maybe not in the exact same way, but I know what it's like when the world falls apart." He glanced at his children, and his voice softened. "We lost their mother 2 years ago. Cancer. Some days I still don't know how we're managing. But we are, and maybe tonight, we can help someone else manage too." The little girl, Sophie, reached out and took Emma's hand. Her small fingers were warm inside her mittens. "Please come," she said sweetly. "We have hot chocolate." Something broke inside Emma then, not in a bad way, but like ice cracking to let water flow again. She looked at this family of strangers who had stopped on a snowy night to help someone in pain. And she realized that maybe, just maybe, being thrown away didn't mean she was worthless. "Okay," she said softly. James's face relaxed into a small smile. He picked up her red bag and gestured toward the SUV. The children surrounded Emma like small guards, walking with her across the street. Ben, the youngest, slipped his hand into hers without asking. The inside of the vehicle was warm and smelled faintly of French fries. Emma settled into the back seat, Sophie climbing up beside her. As James drove through the snowy streets, the children chattered about their day, their voices a soothing melody. "Why were you crying?" Sophie asked suddenly, with the directness only children possess. "Sophie," James said warningly from the front. But Emma found herself answering. "Someone I loved didn't want me anymore," she said simply. "And it hurt very much." Sophie thought about this, then leaned against Emma's arm. "That's silly," she declared. "You seem very nice. He must not be very smart." Despite everything, Emma smiled. "Thank you, Sophie." They pulled up to a large but welcoming house on a tree-lined street. Inside, it was cozy and lived in, with children's drawings on the refrigerator and toys in organized baskets. James made hot chocolate while Emma sat at the kitchen table, wrapped in a borrowed sweater that smelled like lavender. "I run an investment firm," James said as he set a steaming mug in front of her. "I work too much, according to my kids. But we make it work." He sat down across from her. "What's your story, Emma? If you want to tell it." And so she did. She told him about Michael, about the years of trying to have children, about the diagnosis that had labeled her infertile, about the cruel words and the cold dismissal. James listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "He's a fool." Emma looked up, surprised. "Any man who throws away someone he promised to love, just because things got difficult, that's a fool," James continued. "Family isn't just about biology. It's about showing up, about choosing to love even when it's hard." He glanced toward the living room where his children were building a blanket fort. "Those three aren't mine biologically. My wife and I adopted them after years of our own struggles. And they're everything to me." Emma felt tears again, but different ones. Warmer. "Stay here tonight," James said. "Tomorrow, we'll help you figure out next steps. I have connections, people who can help with housing, with legal matters if you need them. But tonight, just rest." As Emma lay in the guest room later, listening to the quiet sounds of the house settling, she realized something important. She'd been thrown away, yes, but perhaps that was because she'd been in the wrong place all along. Sometimes the worst moments open doors we never knew existed. And sometimes, in the gentlest snowfall, strangers become the family we always needed.